钱，我不用你看车。
你别跟你俩给我整。
你别靠我那么近。哎，你敢动我？你
拿什么钱？不是拿什么钱？你说明白要什么钱？
我跟你要吧，我就要5块钱。
你为啥5块钱呢？
我饿了。
你饿了我就得给你钱呢。
你这个给我钱。你随便传我就没事。
我不给你钱怎么的呀？
别离我们那么近，你别离我们那么近。
对，现在疫情期间啊。
这个钱出的好的要真是的看都给我钱，都给那个钱，今天晚上我们就发了，咱们过来我就把东西拿着给，赶紧。昨天已经过去，所有的伤心和烦恼已离去，你要相信明天的天空会更蔚蓝。
这是一个遗书，这是我姐的，上面写的妈妈对不起，这是我的决定。另外一个，这是我写的作文，老师说不行，然后我把这撕掉。
The British PM will announce changes to the lockdown tomorrow. From next month, passengers arriving from all countries except Ireland could be forced to quarantine for 14 days. $4 billion will be spent encouraging people to ride and walk to work.
China is set to make good on the threat to use its economic clout to punish Australia by imposing an 80% tax on importing Australian barley. China has fired another shot across Australia's bow. Beijing has given Canberra 10 days to explain why it shouldn't hit Australian barley with an 80% import tax. It comes on the heels of the Chinese ambassador's threat of economic retaliation if the Prime Minister persisted with his calls for an international inquiry into the origins of the coronavirus.
Maybe the ordinary people will see, why should we drink Australian wine, eat Australian beef?
House Republicans have launched a new task force to look at the Chinese government's role and potential culpability in the spread of coronavirus beyond China's borders.
What China is doing as it explicitly seeks to dominate a new world order where it calls the shots. This will be the national security issue, much like how we had to face the Soviet Union for most of the 20th century. What we're trying to do to bring our supply chains home. How we're blocking our federal pensions and even several dozen of our state pension plans from investing in Beijing.
I've been writing many stories in the past couple of weeks about the links between the Wuhan Institute of Virology and also the PLA, the links to the CSIRO and other Australian universities.
We do know that there are Chinese scientists working in particularly the group of 8 Australian universities who either have worked for the People's Liberation Army. They are scientists who actually have military rank, although they cover it up. And Australian universities have welcomed these people, even after it was pointed out that these people are actually connected to the PLA. And this has been a massive issue in the United States, and yet here in Australia, we seem to not want to know about it.
Right. So you don't discard the possibility that this did indeed escape from a laboratory. That's one of the possibilities, correct?
Yeah, it's one of the possibility.
Right.
And we have to be cautious about this finding, yeah.
In Spain, regions where hospitals can show they're able to handle a second wave of coronavirus will be allowed to loosen their lockdowns from Monday. In France, after 55 days, the lockdown will also be loosened on Monday. People won't need to present a permit to travel within 100 kilometres of where they live.
So, Maria, I don't know about all the specific details of those reports, but there's no question that Xi Jinping and senior officials in the Chinese Communist Party were pressuring the WHO all the way back to December to undersell the risk of this virus. Look, they knew in China early on, probably as early as the early days of December, that this virus was both highly contagious among humans and that it was very deadly for certain people. Yet they wanted to save face. They wanted...
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure. They wanted to make sure that in addition to saving face, that once they realized this virus was going to cripple their own economy, that it did not remain limited to China. So the WHO has some real answers to provide the world about why they bowed to Chinese pressure throughout December and January and turned what could have been a local health emergency in Wuhan into a global pandemic. So, Maria, the 1,000 Talents program sounds benign, even beneficial, but in reality, it's an espionage program. The Chinese Communist Party is recruiting spies in the United States. So what they do is fund research, oftentimes at our most advanced laboratories or prestigious institutions of higher learning, to get technology, to get cutting-edge trade secrets back to China, and to train Chinese Communist Party affiliated graduate and postgraduate students. This just broke out in the news a few months ago at Harvard, where the director, the chairman of the Department of Chemistry, was arrested by the FBI and charged with lying about being a part of the 1,000 Talents program. What I think is the real scandal, though, is that participation in this talent program is legal. People who have been arrested for it tend to be arrested for things like lying to federal investigators or wire fraud or mail fraud or what have you. I'm going to propose legislation that would ban any researcher from accepting Chinese affiliated funds if they are also working on federally funded programs, and that would require universities to make their best efforts not to employ anyone who is a part of these talent programs. We should not be underwriting those people who are on the Chinese Communist Party's payroll to send our most advanced cutting edge technology back to China.
Now, in the great fourth turning in American history, it's front and center what the problem is. The problem comes from Beijing, and the problem is the Chinese Communist Party. It's an enemy to its own people. It's an enemy to the people of the United States. It's an enemy to all free men and women throughout the world, and it's an enemy to all of mankind. And we know how we have to deal with enemies. You don't nurture them. You don't cuddle them, you don't pat them on the head, you confront them. This piece from this intellectual Richard Haas, the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, a group that's made a great number of calls over the last 20 years, 30 years. These are the same guys. A Cold War with China would be a mistake. He's absolutely correct. Since they're in a hot war with us, a Cold War on our side would only lead to ultimate defeat. This is the Thucydides trap. This is what he believes. These people believe in the managed decline of the West. They believe in the managed decline of the United States. In fact, they said we shouldn't even take this on as a nation state. These are transnational problems. This is the same type of nonsense that was put forward by Henry Kissinger and Graham Allison and Zbigniew Brzezinski in the 1970s. Rapprochement, SALT, Richard Haas's of the world, on and on and on again. It took a governor of California who sized up the situation and said, no, I think they're actually an evil empire, the Soviet Union. And how about this? Let me simplify it. Let's cut through the signal. Let's get to the signal, not the noise. We win, they lose. That's our mantra today. We win, they lose. And the we, just like it was in Eastern Europe and the Russian people, are the Chinese people. The decent, hardworking Lao Beijing, old 100 names, the deplorables of China, who we just have heard, since they can't arm themselves. Mao said back in the 30s, all power comes from a barrel of a gun, right? That's how he defeated the Kuomintang and how he eventually defeated the Chinese people. But it's their liberation that is before us today. That's the central question of the first half of the 21st century. And whoever assists them in their liberation will write the history of the 21st century. Very clear, black and white. President Trump said the other day at the Resolute desk, this was an attack that was worse than Pearl Harbor. This was an attack that was worse than Pearl Harbor. We have to embrace that. We have to think about it. We want all of the, and by the way, they're attacking Mike Pompeo. They're attacking us nonstop. Now you got the Wall Street Journal. And I want to quote, a rising chorus of American voices. A rising chorus of American voices now argues that confronting China should become the organizing principle of American foreign policy. Those rising voices, ladies and gentlemen, are hashtag War Room Pandemic. They're afraid of you because they understand a resolved mind of the American people, the deplorables. Henry Kissinger referred to Ronald Reagan as the most dangerous man in America. And you know why? Actually, the most dangerous man in the world, I think he said. You know why? Because he called that an evil empire. He says, we're not going to do treaties. We're not going to do SALT. We're not going to do rapprochement. We're not going to do détente. How about this? Let's try this. We win, they lose. Richard Haas, you and all of your types, our betters, from New York City, the venture capitalists, the hedge fund guys, Schwartzman, Fink, all the corporatists, all the globalists, they got us in this jam and have been financing the Chinese Communist Party. You've been financing the Gulag, okay? You're partners with them. That stink we're going to put that stink on you so hard, you're a partner with them. I will tell you one thing is not gonna be effectuated, Richard Haas. This. We win, they lose. And the big winner will be the Chinese people. And once the Chinese people are free, the world will be free.
我们现在正在做的一件事情，很多人没有注意到，就是我们的 force。你可以说是武装力量，你可以说军事力量，你也可以说实力，翻译出来。我们的科学家来了，可不仅仅是爆料。我可以告诉你，他一个人盯一个非洲的国防部的所有的力量。他讲过一句话，他说：“我3个月我就能做出这个冠状病毒，说放哪儿就放哪儿去。”说过吧，路德是原话吧？同样的事情，
人就专门做这个，
他就是干这个的，是吧？同样，他也会让你做这个病毒人也能把你给搞灭了。我们不是要杀好人、坏人，我们不搞冠状病毒，我们可以把这个变成一个国防力量 ，force 是什么？保护正义国家人民的力量，
武装力量
嘛，对吧？这就是我跟这些国家元首打交道的时候，我们这在欧洲那个科学家他说老郭你别逼我，我太多事儿我得干完，我现在我不相信美国，但有一样。我要站在了喜马拉雅没有共产党中国面前，我会告诉你，我盯一个共产党半个国防部。哎，我说这就是我感兴趣了。我说我不推你，但是他这话说对了。所以现在路德先生，你有这个保护战友的力量的时候，战友在哪受欺负了，被人家给什么了，不可能没有共产党以后你就天天平安，是不可能的。这是人类，不是天堂。OK， 那么你有什么？你得有钱，你得有力量。你得有人，我们法治基金实力，这些人、这些智慧、这些人，你看看聚在一起。刚才说的点子上了，大家我的钱在你这儿了，我的未来在你这儿了，我的安全在你这儿了，我的子女在你这儿了。未来对海外的华人学生的，我们这喜马拉雅的孩子出来读书，我们第一个就拿那个钱给他们无偿，你不用申请，无偿的帮你去签证，帮你去上学，所有的这个学校的费用全给你交了。你怎么没有人去跟你在一起呢？而这个里边没有所谓的领袖领导一领就倒的混蛋玩意儿，没有，这里边是大家决定，这才是核心体系、体制、力量，这才是必须的。